Hello class. Today my multimodal video presentation will be about the burnout in youth and collegiate sports. I decided to name my presentation The Price of Play because honestly anybody that plays the sports, you pay a price and everything has its pros and cons, but yeah. This will be an in-depth exploration of overstress, premature specialization, and systematic recovery frameworks in youth and collegiate sports. For part one is basically just the problem defined. Basically, to dumb it down, what it says under the problem defined, it's basically dissecting the systematic shift from little league sports to high major Division I sports, whether it's basketball, football, volleyball, tennis, golf, you name it, whatever it may be, from fun to business. What is athlete burnout? Athlete burnout is basically psychological exhaustion and devaluation and detachment. When I think of the psychological exhaustion part of it, that's just being mentally tired. Some days you wake up and you don't want to do it. Some days you wake up and you don't feel as good, or you don't feel the same as you did the day before, and you're just tired. It gets repetitive, doing the same things over and over again, and it could be mentally exhausting, and it could cause you to have, like it says in the box here, deteriorated performance. That's like a bad game. Compromised immune functions. That's you can become sick from not sleeping or not eating, and then sometimes you could just have a complete loss of energy. And then when I think of devaluation and detachment, most athletes come to this once they reach a certain point or certain age. I've been playing basketball since I was 4, and I just finished up my last college basketball season in March. And I love basketball, I do. But ever since around my sophomore year at college, I started to get detached from it. I stopped loving the game like I used to. I stopped putting in the extra work. It got tiring. It did. It got really tiring. Here we got just a little random fact to throw out there. 70% of athletes quit before they can even reach high school. And that's honestly crazy because during high school, yeah, you have other kids or other athletes that want to reach certain level goals, but majority of high school athletes are out there to have fun. They're out there to play with their friends. They're out there to get the experience. I know people who go out there just so they can have a senior night and have their whole family come out and recognize them. But like the fact that 70% don't even make it to high school due to being burnt out, psychologically exhausted, or just detached from it, that's wild. Analyzing root causes. Two of the root causes are early specialization and adult achievement demands. Early specialization, that's more so at a very young age, focusing on one sport, and you do it year round, 24/7. So you wake up, it's basketball. You go to sleep, it's basketball, or whatever your sport is. But focusing on one thing at too early of an age, and you're doing it for years, that can definitely cause a child to be physically or psychologically exhausted, physically exhausted, and it could cause them to detach. Too much of anything is not good for anybody. We all need a balance. And then the adult achievement demands. While playing sports, all athletes have adults in their ears telling them about all the things that they can achieve, all the things they could do, all the things they could be. And sometimes kids just want to be kids. But adults, they are pushing this scholarship, or you can go to the NBA or NFL and make millions of dollars. In reality, they just want to go to the movies and go hang out with their friends. Like, they're not even thinking about that right now. So that pressure coming from the adults, all the achievements that they want them to accomplish, which seems so far to the athlete, that can also cause you to detach or be psychologically exhausted. You're pushing yourself to get to something that you don't even see, something that you don't even see for yourself. Part 2, We got the psychological and mental toll. Investigating how chronic overstress compromises biological systems and reshapes adolescent identity. Some of the warning signs and quantifying risk. Warning signs include chronically elevated resting heart rate, sleep disruption, persistent joint inflammation, and extended recovery latency times. This is just a couple of things off the list that can show you that you're mentally tired. You can't sleep. If your bones are always hurting, take you longer to recover, take you longer to feel better than normal. Yeah, you might be mentally exhausted. And then they talk about a couple behaviors that you might see, such as like mood irritability, social withdrawal, athletic identity over dependence, and severe drop in score performance. Like, this is a real thing. I know real people who choose their athletic identity over their dependence. I have a friend that's my age, and he's 23, mind you, I'm 23, and his father still controls his life to this day due to sports. And I know he's physically exhausted or psychologically exhausted. He might have not detached, but I know he's mentally tired and mentally drained from having to constantly choose basketball over the things he wants to do. And he's 23 now, and it still hasn't paid off the way he would like, or the way his dad pushed him to make it seem like it would be. Yeah, he's definitely probably tired. He goes through a whole bunch of mood changes. He doesn't socialize. They talk about social withdrawal. He rarely socializes. He barely gets on social media. You don't see him going outside to parties or anything. And yeah, I feel like if I really talked to him, he would tell me he's mentally tired. This is just another little fact checked. Collegiate athlete weekly demands. Athletic commitments, that's 38 hours a week. So that could be practice, games, that could even be going to a charity event, because that takes up time out of our day too. And you got academic workloads, that's 32 hours a week. It's class, study hall, anytime you're doing homework at home, like, it takes time. It does. Active rest and recovery, 10 hours a week. Everything we put our bodies and minds throughout the whole week, we got about 10 hours of trainer time or actual downtime where we could just sit and relax. And in sleep deficit, we're supposed to sleep 8 hours at night, if I'm not mistaken, and we lose 42 hours of sleep over 1 week. We've lost 42 hours of sleep. And 42 sounds like a lot, but if you add that up over let's say just the course of a basketball season. Basketball starts November, ends March. That's a lot of hours of sleep lost. And you need sleep. Our bodies are like robots. We got to be recharged, and sleep is what recharges us. And in the active rest and recovery, you see how low that is from everything else. Like 10 hours to rest and recover, but you're doing things athletically with your body 38 hours at a time. 32 of them you're using your brain. You need a little bit more than 10 hours to truly recover from that. And before I click on to the next one, that's another thing. Athletes, we're never 100%. Mentally or physically, something's always wrong. Like, we're never 100%. And so that's why the burnout is so common nowadays. Part 3, we got our solutions and recovery. We got diversification, structure recovery, and we have identity expansion. For diversification, this promotes multi-sport play prior to early adolescence. Engaging in multiple sports builds varied motor skills and mitigates cognitive boredom. You got to switch it up. basically. You can't specialize. This is what we talk about, early specialization. You can't specialize just in one thing and focus on one thing year round. It gets tiring, it gets repetitive, and as a kid, you need to see different things. You don't even know what you do and what you don't like if you haven't tried it. If you only know this one thing, you limit yourself, and that's not good. That's easy. That's an easy way to get burnt out. Structure recovery. Integrate a strict 60-30-10 recovery index mandating sufficient sleep, hygiene, 2 days of complete physical rest weekly, and off-season windows. And this is huge. Let's look at LeBron for instance. LeBron's been playing in the NBA for 23 years, and he's about to enter his 24th season. He spends millions of dollars on his body just to recover. So if the greatest, if the greatest basketball player ever can take time off and spend millions of dollars on making sure his body is okay, then I feel like we can too. And not to say you have to spend money or anything, but he takes time off. He has off-season windows. He doesn't do things 7 days a week. Nobody has to. That's not normal, and it's not okay. And most people that do, they end up falling off at some point due to burnout. And then identity expansion. Incentive pursuits and identities outside the sports arena. Academics, creative arts, social activism to ground personal self-worth. Identity expansion is exactly what it says to be. I was grateful that my parents put me in more things than just sports. When I was growing up, I went to a school called SCPA, School for Creative and Performing Arts. And there I learned to play the piano. I had acting classes. I had vocal classes. I learned how to play the violin. It's just different things that helped me figure out who I am. And going to the School for Creative and Performing Arts, I found out that I was more of a sports guy, but that's not the point. I had the choice to figure out what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be, which is why I didn't get burnt out till college. College, I get there and it's every day. But before, it was just for fun. And, a modern coaching framework. This would also help tremendously. Shared decision making and mastery over outcome. Shared decision making is basically exactly what it says. It's allowing the youth to have a voice. It's allowing them to speak on what they feel is right, allowing them to speak on what they feel is best for them, because at the end of the day, nobody knows what's best for us besides us. Especially when we get to like the older ages, maybe not so when we're younger, but definitely once we get older, we know what's best for us. And then mastery over outcome. This is basically focusing on a person rather than wins. When we're growing up playing Little League, they care about who we are as a kid. Well, most Little League teams, they care about who you are as a kid. They want you to do good in school. They want you to, be a good kid. Once you get to college, it's about business. They don't care who you are. They want you to score and win them games. And that's about it. Get them ticket sales, jersey sales. It's a business, and it takes the fun out of it. Restoring the play. Burnout is not a natural byproduct of passion. It's a systematic failure of design. Let's work together to redefine athletic environments and safeguard well-being. And in here, I just got 2 little sources for you. These are sources that anybody can use dealing with mental health. So yeah, if you or anybody you know is dealing with mental health, please give them those links. Thank you.